Well, hello and welcome everybody to the September meeting of the Historic Highway 99 Association. We have a well, let's see what news that we have. I've recently been in contact with some people up in Arbuckle, which is in the southern, central, central Sacramento Valley, just south of Willows or Williams, and they're interested in possibly getting involved with the association, so that'll be pretty cool. Still waiting on the approval for the signage, historic route signs in Redlands, so something else looking forward to. And other than that, things have been somewhat quiet. I've been busy with working on new house, so that's kind of taken a lot of my time. But beyond that, well, we do also have a presentation this evening on the history of the Ridge Route alternate, which is it was the new Ridge Route. Open in 33 between Castaic and Gorman, bypassing the old Ridge Route. It remains in pieces today, used partially as the freeway, used partially as a dam access, or it's also underneath the reservoir. So there's a lot to it. We have a lot of photos, a lot of interesting bits of history. And we will get that started. So here, there's screen. This one. Okay. Oops. So, okay, so here I'm going to come on. Oh. Okay, a second here. Let's do well, first of all, I guess just to verify, what screen are people seeing? Are they seeing the just history of the Ridge Route alternate title page?
That's what I'm seeing.
Good. Not seeing the PowerPoint background. Okay, good. Okay. All right, so let's get history of the Ridge Route alternate. So it's a big portion of former US Highway 99. This is the section between Castaic and Tejon Pass. So basic map of the roadway. Oops. Okay, and this map is a USGS map from the late 1940s. As you can see here, here's Castaic and Tejon Pass, Gorman. The original Ridge Route follows this line here. This is the Reservoir Summit area. Continuing on, Sandberg and beyond. US 99, well, the later version of US 99 follows this path. Now, as you can see, just from this map alone, how much straighter the new road was. The Ridge Route alternate itself was the section between here and Castaic up to this point here where the two roads remerged. There was additional work that was done in the pass area but that work, well, we'll get to. So the old ridge route, 1914, 1933, well, and beyond, but its use. So for the old road, surveys began in 1912, covered a route that was actually Los Angeles County, did surveys looking for a new wagon road heading north out of Los Angeles. They ended up with finding a ridge that ran between the, well, what became Castaic up to Fort Tahoe. Who would have thought that eventually that would become a roadway? And took about a little over a year or so to build the roadway. It was paved with a that they called generous 20-foot slab of concrete, steel reinforced. There were curve corrections and resurfacing, a lot of which is still visible today between 1922 and 1926. But after a point, they abandoned those efforts. It's too much work to straighten out the ridge route. Too many problems. So what are you going to do? Build a whole new road. A little bit more for the ridge route. You can see here this from an old auto club, yes, booklet, and you can see here is the road under the new road under construction, the original ridge route. It's a shot of the ridge route here. Kelly's halfway in, looking towards Reservoir Summits, where this little tree is. See it winding along here. Rather beautiful section. This is a section that was bypassed about 1925. This is the original concrete. It's looking to the north towards Leary Mountain. So, ridge route alternate, the original construction. The road went through a few modifications. So surveys began in 1928 for a new road via Osito Canyon and Pyro Gorge. It was going to be known as the Ridge Route Alternate. Why alternate? At the time they were building the roadway, they didn't necessarily, they didn't necessarily think that the old ridge route would be completely bypassed and done. That people would no longer take it. If they want to take a scenic route, they take the ridge route. If they want to just get there, they take the ridge route alternate. Nobody wanted to take the ridge route after it was bypassed, so that went away pretty quick. Locally, if you're looking at like the former Newhall Signal newspaper, they would refer to it as the Violin Canyon Road. A little bit of a misnomer. When the roadway leaves Castaic, it's actually going up Marple Canyon, but you hit Violin Canyon a little bit further on. Surveys themselves, 1928 construction finally began, late 1929, starting at the south end. The new road would be 3 lanes wide, 38-foot roadway, concrete lanes. It would also be 9.6 miles shorter, with a 14th of the total curvature. The old road between Castaic and Gorman, 35,141 feet of curvature. The new road, 2,492 feet. It's a huge difference. It was basically the equivalent of just going in circles for at least 110 times. Huge amount of earth was moved, far more than on the old ridge route. Old ridge route was built on a much tighter budget. New road, that's how you get roads with that little curvature. You dig out those hills. So Tejon Pass was also modified during this period. The old summit, 4213, down to 4183. Something called adverse grade, where you're going up and down without actually gaining anything, was also reduced. And the highest summit was actually 4,230 feet at Liebre, just south of Sandburg. The new road would be overall lower than that. So pyramid cut, otherwise known as or alternatively called pyramid rock, largest on the road, 206 feet deep, 400 feet long, and 230,000 cubic yards of material. It's quite a bit. In comparison, on the ridge route, you had the deepest cut was 110 feet. The bridge at the south side of Pyramid Rock, which we'll get to that area, is actually salvaged. It was through the original bridge was a through girder style, and another bridge over Castaic Creek, where the piers are still seen today, was taken apart, turned upside down, and used as the new girders for one of the bridges. Opening ceremonies were at Pirate Gorge on October 29th, 1933, 4 years to the day after the stock market crash. And California Highway Commissioner Philip Stanton is hailed as the greatest blow to sectionalism in California since the construction of the original ridge route in 1915. Still plans to break up the state because of it taking too long to get between parts of the state. And that portion of the ridge route helped with that. Okay. All right. So here we have comparison. This is a topographic map, USGS from the 30s, that shows the area around Pirate Gorge, Pyramid Lake area. Yeah, Pyramid Lake area. I'm going north. By comparison, you have the ridge route. It's mentioning about the differences in curvature. Nice gentle curves. Here it's squiggly all over the place. Here's the deepest cut on the ridge route, Swedes cut. And here's the deepest cut on the ridge route. On the ridge route alternate. Big difference. You can see how many areas where there was fills and bridges. So opening ceremonies. At the channel change, you can see the highway in the background. Everybody's here. It's a big to do. Among other people you have here are district engineer or Caltrans, Division of Highways, District 7 engineer Cortelu, otherwise SV Cortelu. He was involved in a lot of projects, inclusive of like Angeles Crest Highway. This man right here is Commissioner Stanton. Now, if you look also in the background here, you can see what looks like concrete line channel. That is the channel change. To better explain that, basically what happened is that this is where the channel change was located, or is located. You can follow the blue line here, and it shows the creek going back and forth. Well, in order to eliminate two bridges, they redirected the creek to the side here. This was a concrete line channel, and here's the old channel going around. Well, streams being what they are, it didn't last very long. But they were very proud of their road. Cover of California Highways and Public Works, that's Pyramid Rock. That's still there. The bridges haven't been around for a while either. You can see wooden railing. Also we'll see this later on. There's also a cable to help prevent cars from going through. Postcard at the last remaining bridge at Pirate Creek Bridge. Bridge 53-82, formerly in the state system. You can see a little bit of stone here. Interstate 5 would be visible up here today. But this stone is a part of a little rest area. In later years, this would be for, well, this time it's for all traffic. But later, this would be for southbound traffic. There was a northbound one down underneath the reservoir area. So this had a little water fountain. It's kind of a nice little pull off, trees. And here is Interstate, the big cut for Interstate 5. By comparison, here's the hill. Here it is again. This is the remaining Pirate Creek Bridge. It's originally completed 1932. The wooden railing along the edge and this steel cable. And also notice 1, 2, and then there's a third lane, 3-lane highway. This is only half the bridge. Newer, well, 1950s railing approaching it. See a little notch here from where there used to be a wooden railing, or wooden like a fender, if you will. So we'll get to this, but in 1951, the bridge was widened to 4 lanes. And this is the 1951 railing. So this is a photograph from Caltrans taken just before the roadway opened. See the channel change here, very visible. Big cliff in the background, very obvious features. There's that little notch there, and there it is today. Not quite the same spot, but pretty close. But if you notice, here's an obvious concrete line channel. It's all trees here. It's almost all gone. There's only the northern end is still left. So the Pyramid Rock and Cut. Pyramid Lake, which is the reservoir, the state reservoir that occupies that area now, is actually named after this, both the cut and the rock. So you can see this graceful curve coming through here, 3 lanes. This is the bridge that was partially used, that partially used the 1916 steel girders. A little bit further back in time, that bridge under construction. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 bridges. But the postcards just love that area. This is looking south from Pyramid Cut. This view you can actually reproduce today. Looking north from the Pyramid Cut, see the first bridge here, second bridge, third one around the corner. Right now, if you were to be standing at this, you'd be staring straight at the dam. A little bit further north, Pyramid Rock, clearly visible. Bridges, one around here, the one down here. Even further north is another postcard view. This was at this point, you're looking underneath the reservoir. This bit of land here to the left is the island in Pyramid Lake. It is known as Chumash Island today, but at this time it was just another hill. Interstate 5 would be crossing Liabre Gulch over here. And you can also see a car using the suicide lane. A couple of truck here, a couple other vehicles here, and it looks like they're trying to get around the truck. You can only imagine what's going to happen when somebody's coming around the bend here and also wants to pass a truck. 3-lane highways still exist today, but are even in this basic configuration where it's a common passing lane, it's just not as common. So these are photographs taken by Caltrans for the original surveys of the Ridge Route alternate, of the widening work that was going to happen on the Ridge Route alternate. Looking here, Frenchman's Flat, Pyro Creek Bridge, channel change. And you can see here the old channel. The circles and numbers that you see along here, these are stationing marks. Well, this 100, 110, these are stations along the way for the survey and for the engineering of the design of the highway. These circles are actually survey points. See, this is Pyramid Rock here. So Pyramid Dam stretches across here. Even further north, this is just north of the Smoky Bear Road exit. Smoky Bear Road would actually intersect right about here. These power lines are still there. This paving partially still there. This would eventually become northbound US 99, southbound US 99. Well, we'll get there, but it was wide. Even further north, we're looking at this point right about State 138. Foreman Creek Bridge. State 138 comes in the southbound ramp anyway, somewhere around here. Power lines again. These are part of the 1907 Kern River lines that ran along the Ridge Route alternate. Older photo from the late 90s showing Gorman, where you can clearly see underneath the asphalt 3 lanes up of concrete. But what you can't see in this photo is that there's another curve in this area here for the original Ridge Route. The contractor date stamp, actually, this was poured June 8th, 1933. This section here, unfortunately, has since been resurfaced, but this was the last remaining quite intact section of 3-lane highway for the original Ridge Route alternate. Looking north towards Fraser Mountain. Fun fact here, just to the right here, where these trees are, is the San Andreas Falls. It's the reason that the hill goes up and then down here and back up. So upgrading to an expressway. A lot of traffic. Look at Interstate 5 today. Heavy amount of traffic. It was a lot of traffic even then. So 3 lanes wasn't enough. They needed to do 4. Took a while because, well, there was a delay because of a World War. But they started the early plans, 1940. Well, they were delayed. Resumed the surveys in 46. The photographs I showed earlier, the aerial photographs, were taken from that survey. They were for what's called photogrammetric mapping, basically making topographic maps from aerial photos. Yeah, sure, but how are we going to pay for it? So gas tax was already a thing, but there wasn't quite enough money in that. What happens was something called the Collier-Burns Act, 1947, that dramatically changed funding for highways. And that's an important date because if you notice, a lot of highways, a lot of freeways, expressways, what have you, start post 1947. 48, 49, big, large amounts of construction. They were going to put in what is called an expressway, limited access road. But it was going to be done in sections. Construction began in March of 47. was fully completed by late 49, except for Pyro Gorge, Castaic, and Gorman. So through those points, still a 3-lane highway. And the new road would be mostly paved with asphalt instead of concrete. There are many reasons for that. They changed the grade in many places. They changed the alignment in many places, and to reuse the old paving would not have been practical. So the last 3 sections: Castaic, Pyro Gorge, and Gorman. Now, Castaic was bypassed. So was Gorman. Those alignments are roughly where the 5 goes today. But for Pyro Gorge, they decided to eliminate the 2 bridges on either side, try to save money somehow. On the other side of Pyramid Rock, they blasted, closing the highway. You know, we'll get pictures of that. You know, they using a lot of dynamite to blast out the hill. Quite spectacular. But they built it as what was going to be called the ultimate alignment. You realign a highway here and there, and so eventually you come to a point where this is where we want to be. We can build anything beyond this point by just adding a little bit more rather than building a new road. Well, the state of California Department of Water Resources had a different thought. However, even before then, there was also a runaway truck ramp that was built on 5 Mile grade. 5 Mile grade is the section between Castaic and Templin Highway. The runaway ramp is actually partially still there today. But by 55, there were plans to make it a full freeway. 6 lanes originally. But that was on the existing alignment. So between Castaic, Mile and Summit, give you an idea of how things were. And out in the valley when it was wide open, here's Castaic Junction in 1949. Tips Restaurant here, Chevron's standard station here, the old one versus the new one. This one would be there until sometime in the 1980s. This is looking through Castaic Valley, looking towards what is now Castaic Dam. See the old ridge route kicking off here, winds around, goes off way. This is now northbound US or northbound Interstate 5. Castaic was, like I said, Castaic was bypassed. So a lot of roads going on here. This is the original road, ridge route. You can see it also going off here. This is Castaic Road, the 1933 version. This is the beginning of the ridge route alternate. And then in 51, they built this expressway. This is where the 5 goes today. Looking the other direction, you can see, looking actually over towards Newhall Pass. I believe that's it's over towards Cahuenga Pass. You see the ridge route winding around. 99 going off this way. Santa Clarita here. Not a very good photos, newspaper or some sort of an article, but this shows the original configuration for 5 Mile grade. This is the grade leaving Castaic. Now 4 lanes, one way. It was 2 lanes each way. I think climbing a long steep grade behind trucks was a problem now. Now, thankfully, some people was able to take some photos. This is the original truck escape ramp. It still exists today, albeit partially filled with more material. So you have now you have a truck escape ramp, which is pointing the wrong way. This is all uphill traffic at this point. At the time, of course, it was still bi-directional. And here it is in use. It got used so many times. In fact, it got used the last time, which was in 1970, just before the new road was completed. Additionally, the truck escape ramp, can't really see it too well here, but wasn't a part of, was a former alignment of the highway. And one of the many realignments, the original alignment swung around here, kind of took a big swing out here, and then went out that way. Southbound Interstate 5 being over here. And there's the ridge route. So this is looking from a bit further north, looking down 5 Mile grade, almost in its entirety. Here's a truck escape ramp. This is in 1958. You can see a few, minor corrections in the curves. One thing that was done is this is looking north toward the northern end of the Interstate 5 switches back over itself. The original highway, or the 1930s highway, swung around here, swung out over here, and went on towards Violin Summit. When they widened it to 4 lanes, they kept the old side and just straightened it out. Today, Interstate 5 follows this path, and this has been obliterated, as has this. This is about the point where the two sides of the 5 cross over each other again. Looking a bit further north, this is between the just below Violin Summit, the first summit north of Castaic, just south of Templin Highway. This is part of the original highway, bypassed in 1968. Looking further, a little bit further north, looking towards Violin Summit. See here, Interstate 5, here's US 99, a little bit of concrete retaining wall. The original highway continued straight through here, dove down and then curved, went out this way. So at Violin Summit, you can see highway widens out and looks actually quite nice. This area is known as Big Oak Flat. It is where this is Templin Highway intersects here. And it was the one place where they were able to get a optimum width section. Most of the expressway over the Ridge Road alternate was much narrower. So it's a rather intact section. Here's part of the 1907 power lines again. Templin Highway heading off. See, this is roughly the way it used to be. Stripe divider, 4 lanes. Just an empty highway today, but this was part of the backbone of California. This is an aerial photograph, 1958, showing that very same section. You can see widens out here and then narrows down again to make its way through. They did it this way. It was just cheaper and easier. It wasn't necessarily as safe because you had a much narrower median, but it was the best they could do at the time. So it was actually mile marked this was Route 5 from 1964 to 1969. I say Route 5 because it may have been signed as Interstate 5, but as a route, it was numbered as 5. Doesn't matter if it had a US 99 shield on it, still Route 5 by this point. So this is looking north from near in 19. Let's see. This should be late 40s. No, sorry. Yeah, late 40s. This is looking from Whitaker Summit. See, at the time, they also had a little concrete raised bars in the median and a sign saying, let's see, watch for slow moving vehicles ahead. This is descending 3 Mile grade into Piru Gorge. You can see this is looking, this is further north, looking southerly. This is Osceola Canyon. This is Whitaker Summit, Big Oak Flat, Castaic, and this is Oak Flat. It can be a little confusing. This is actually created by landslides quite some time ago, in the order of thousands of years. The one thing to note here is you can see little crescents here. Not as much on this part, but these are parts of the original alignment. When they built the expressway, they straightened it out quite a bit. This location here is right about here. You're looking up the grade. It's not full 4 lanes anymore. At some point, the county, after it was relinquished, turned into a 2-lane road. Why maintain a 4-lane highway if you don't have to? So, coming a little bit further down the grade, part of the original highway here. This is going into Piper Gorge. This, the later 40s road is over here. This is part of the original, complete with a 1931 culvert. Piper Gorge Bridge. To note, you can see 1, 2, and 3 lanes here. It's 30 feet. From here over, this was the widened part. So this is 1958, looking at Prairie Gorge. See the channel change, Prairie Creek Bridge, Frenchman's Flat. Just looking down into the gorge. Frenchman's Flat, Prairie Gorge, or Prairie Creek Bridge, channel change, Pyramid Rock way over here. I did mention about some blasting. This is at Pyramid Rock, where it's a nice sequence shot, where you can see how much effort it was to blast out that highway. Now, to widen this, so they basically they did another channel change. These bridges, one on each side of the creek, each side of Pyramid Rock, got replaced with fill. The creek was shunted through the cut, as you can see here. No bridge. Here's Pyramid Rock, but no bridge. This is the way it was in '68, just before Pyramid Lake started. A couple other photos from '68. You can see this is right. This is at the channel change. This is pretty close to where the opening ceremonies were held. And this is looking down 3 Mile grade. This is Cobblestone Mountain in the distance. This is a bit further north. You can see this median was added after it was bypassed. This is not original. This is looking towards Pyramid Dam here. This is not Pyramid Rock. This is just adjacent to it. So this is it in 1951. You can see they didn't do a very good job of maintaining the railing. Okay. All right. So you can see the bridge definitely saw a bit of wear and tear. This is still there. This is underneath Pyramid Lake. This is Pyramid Rock here, going through the cut, but this bridge is still here. This is underneath the lake. This is the island. Highway came, swung around here. Earlier, I showed a photo of underneath the lake. It was taken here. There also used to be a maintenance station. Division of Highways Maintenance Station, Oak Flat Station. underneath what is now in the area that is now underneath the reservoir. So a special note, there's a set of bridges here. You can see Los Alamos Creek winding around here. So in 62, the Lockheed had to move a special plane. And in order to do that, they had to make sure all the road was clear and had certain clearances, and it would pick out the road. And a bunch of photos were taken. As it happens, that's the maintenance station, and here are the bridges. This is looking north. So yeah, and this is part of the 1907 power lines following the area, but this, you can see southbound, original 1930s bridge, northbound, new bridge, twin bridges in this case, rather than one bridge that was widened, it was two bridges. This is a little further north, just north of Smoky Bear Road. You can see here, there's concrete. I mean, I did mention that the highway was not paved with concrete. When they widened the highway, they paved with asphalt. Well, a section of it from near State 138 south to the north entrance, actually, or near the boat ramp to Pyramid Lake. The roadway, the southbound roadway, was resurfaced with concrete in September 1959. Northbound is over here. You can see September 21st, 1959. Date stamp located right around here. This roadway now serves as the access to Pyramid Lake. So as you can see here, this is near where one of the other photos was. This is near the State 138 interchange. Not built yet. This is still back in the 50s. Looking south. That photo we just saw is taken here, looking south. At the time, there was also here and here. There was some sort of a restaurant, I believe, here, and some sort of other service station in this area. State 138, the big interchange, kicks off here today. San Andreas Falls follows this path here, as well as the old bridge route. Here's the old bridge route towards Sawmill Mountain, Labray Mountain. Here's the ridge alternate. This is a little out of sequence, but this is overlooking the Peace Valley area. State 138 to be towards the bottom here, Gorman Creek. Continuing on down towards Pyramid Lake. This bridge here, the southbound bridge, is actually still there. It's incorporated into current southbound Interstate 5. So Gorman, I mentioned, was bypassed. Here's the original alignment. Well, here's the 30s alignment. The original alignment, you can actually see a part kicking off here. It came over, on back, and across here again, on back, and over here, and went back. Even in a valley, the ridge drop found ways of curving. This is now where Interstate 5 is located. This is the site of, well, the current site of the, used to be the Caravan restaurant and motel. Structure's still there. There's a standard station here, still a standard station, well, Chevron today. This is the Gorman Motel and the former Gorman Sheriff Station. I say this is looking towards Tejon Pass, and you can see another old alignment kicking off here. Old Gorman sign, long gone. You can see it itself has had a couple of iterations. So this is under construct. This is Tejon Pass under construction. Realigning it. See the old Chandler's Summit Cafe and Garage, 3-lane highway here. This is the 4-lane. What's interesting to note here is you see this bench here, here, and here. This is part of the original bridge route. This concrete itself is actually dating to 1923 and is still there today. As you can see here, here's the view has changed a little bit, but I always enjoyed this. You have 3 roadways, all concrete, quite a difference in change in everything here. 1923, albeit 2nd story concrete, that's the whole thing. The original highway, paved in 1919, they overlaid new concrete on top of it, calling it 2nd story. They used the old concrete as a base. Bypassed that in 33, realigned that in 51, bypassed that in 66. So Interstate 5 construction. So is it Pyramid Lake necessitated realigning the highway in a big way. And US 99 itself was also formally decommissioned in 1964 from downtown Los Angeles to the Mexican border. And the rest of it was decommissioned in 1965. Post miles, as you saw, were installed along the highway in 1964. The new highway would be numbered Interstate 5 and be built with 8 lanes. And construction commenced 1966. So only a couple of in this case, only a couple of sections were used for Interstate 5. There was a section in 5 mile grade was reused, albeit modified, and through Peace Valley, albeit again modified. The remainder was bypassed or just flat out destroyed. 5 mile grade was a bit of an interesting thing because there was a 6% grade, very steep, had the runaway truck ramp. So what they did is they had multiple options. They could widen out that to 8 lanes. They could put it on a new grade. What they decided to do, the better option was to make the old grade uphill, create a newer, shallower grade downhill. The only way to do that economically was to put it on the other side of the canyon. So that's why you have the English switch, or using the Route 5 separation north of Castaic. The new route would also bypass Pirate Gorge. Doing so, putting it much higher up the canyon, necessitated huge cuts and huge fills. One of the fills was over 300 feet. New interchange was constructed at State 138, which was originally planned to be a part of the Metropolitan Bypass Freeway. It ended up being the only section of that freeway built. A portion of it is still, the old highway is still traversable. It's not 100% certain as to whether or not those bridges are still there underneath the lake, but I have found evidence that they are still there. So the trouble is with the geology up there, it's massive cuts, and they do invite massive slides, and they happen. Big slide is at Vista del Lago, or the current Vista del Lago Road interchange. Even the visitor center, long after, was still subject to landslides. And 1998, Whitaker Summit was a big slide, took out a couple of lanes off of the highway. 2005, another big slide took out, and that remained for a while at Violin Summit. For a while, the highway was 4 lanes, then it was 6. Now it's finally back to 8. Tejon Pass was lowered yet again to its current 4,144 feet. Initially, they were thinking about putting in tunnels, make it even lower. But the San Andreas crosses at the pass itself, so they opted with just lowering the cut or lowering the grade and keeping it above grade. No tunnels. So some photos of freeway construction. You can see here, this is basically approaching the Pyramid Lake area. You may notice that this is the old highway, 4 lanes. It's lighter colored here because this is that 1959 concrete. That southern end of it is still there today. This is Interstate 5 being built. You can see massive cuts going on here, and this is just notching out the hill. But then this is what happens when you mess with the wrong hill. Vista del Lago interchange will be located here. As you can see, the entire roadway gone. This is the West Fork Liebre Gulch fill, which they had to buttress to keep it from sliding further. You see, that is all that it slipped that far. This you can kind of see is actually an older slide plane, and you can still see the jumbled area today. This is a bit, well, different area, but you can just see how graceful Interstate 5 is. You have the ridge route twisting every which way. You have the ridge route alternate, much nicer, but still has its moments. And here you have an 8-lane freeway just gliding through this mountain range. Postcard I found up in Kernville many years ago, calling the postcard was from, I'd say, the early 70s, early mid 70s, still calling it the Ridge Route, not the Grapevine, as it is now called. But that name, Ridge Route, lasted from the original highway, which can be seen over here. This is Sweets Cut. And then here's the current highway. This cut dwarfs this. Well, so looking into the future, Caltrans is planning on eventually putting in either HOV lanes or possibly truck lanes as far as the 138. They're redoing rehabilitating the paving because, well, the truck's been beating it up and all the traffic has been beating it up. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Or want me to go back to any of the other photos?
Michael, can you go back to, you mentioned something about 138. There was an aircraft or something that needed to be moved. I missed that for a second.
Oh, yeah. So, that's not what I wanted.
That's a future project over the Grapevine.
Okay. Okay. This one. Can it be seen? Oops. Talking about this photo?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, so this basically there was a I guess partially top secret aircraft that they had to move from Burbank up to, I think it ended up in Utah. But they took Highway 99 north out of Los Angeles, stopped, and then went east on 138, ended up on 466, now State 58, went up to 15. And beyond that, I'm not sure, but part of their route took them, well, like I said, along 99. This is underneath Pyramid Lake. Reservoir Heights, probably somewhere around here. But this is the maintenance station, the Oak Flat Maintenance Station. I've actually spoken to a couple of people that used to work there, which is pretty cool.
Thank you for coming back to that.
Oh, you're welcome.
While you're still there,
Yes.
that guardrail on the right there, that's just that curved single metal piece that's got curvature to it on the post, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was used as early as the mid 40s, and I've seen it as late as probably early 60s. After that, it was changed to the W rail, which surprisingly was used as the bridge rail.
Yeah, I remember as a kid seeing a lot of that curved railing up on mountain roads and whatnot around Southern California. It was pretty common back then.
And there's still sections of it remaining, but it's getting farther and fewer between, like the wooden railing. So yeah. Does anybody have any other questions about either the presentation or 99?
Very interesting. A lot of good pictures. Thank you for the hard work of putting it together.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
I have a million more questions, but I'll think of it after the program's over. But no, this is another very outstanding piece here. I really enjoyed this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun doing these.
This has always been a favorite section of road for me. I mentioned before as a kid going up there with Dad and driving a truck over later on, and it just has a lot of memories for me. And fortunately, I got to see a lot of the 1933 alignment and what was left of it before the lake was filled up. And so again, seeing stuff like this is really interesting to me.
And the road, for me, it was part of the reason I'm even interested in Highway 99. Seeing the road leading into Pirate Gorge from Interstate 5, seeing this big 4-lane roadway, I was wondering, well, why are we on that? And I never was I never understood it. Just got curious about it, wanted to learn more, and found quite a bit. One thing I also thought was interesting is, well, because of its proximity to Los Angeles, well, sometimes you get it used in films. So the highway itself, the bypass section through Pirate Gorge, has been used in apparently one of those Fast and Furious movies. I don't know which one, but somehow that popped up in my radar. I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen that scene. It was also used in the movie. An extensive amount of it was used in the movie Breakdown, to the point where one of the final scenes was at Pyramid Lake, or was at Pyramid Rock. You can even see it in the background. There was also, which I was up late one night and happened upon an episode of, I was just flipping through channels, must have been like 11 o'clock or 11:30, and I couldn't get to bed. And it was Lassie came on. I thought, oh, that's interesting. At the time, I lived in Santa Clarita, and it was actually just down the street from where the Lassie was trained, where the Weatherwax, house was. I say was because it has since been torn down and, well, it burned in a fire back in the early 2000s. But at the time, I was like, well, this is interesting. It's Lassie and it's in color. I didn't know such a thing existed. And I was just like, oh, I'm just going to watch this because this is something different. And the first thing I see is Solid Head Canyon, just down from where I live. And I recognize, oh, I know that bridge. I'm going to keep watching. Next thing I know, oh, I know where that is. They're on Sierra Highway. And it was this Lassie gets picked up, is somehow involved with this trucker and a hitchhiker, like this teenager's hitchhiking or something, and somehow the dog's involved. I don't know how that all came together. But the fact that it was a truck is important, because at some point they lose their brakes and they're going down a steep grade. It starts off, they're driving on Templin Highway, going down towards the Castaic power plant. And the next thing you see is runaway truck ramp ahead. It's the runaway truck ramp on Interstate, well, on 5 Mile grade, complete with signage and everything. Like, wow, this is totally cool. Actual video of a section of 99 that's quite changed today. So you see it pop up in things. I'll stop sharing here.
Now you're gonna have me searching for that episode of Lassie.
I can dig it up. It's from, I think, 1970. The thing to consider is with the highway, the 5 Mile grade was well, that section was finally well, the Interstate 5 was finally completed there in January of 1970. So, and filming had been just before that, because otherwise you'd have been going the wrong way down a highway. It's like the opening of Duel, where they also show a section of Highway 99, in this case down in Newhall Pass. But you can also see where the movie came out in 71. And you can tell when they were filming because you can see earthquake damage from the February 9, 1971 quake. But yeah, I'll have to track that episode down. It's pretty sure it's from 1970. Could have been as late, it aired as late as 71, but probably not. And it's one of those. It's just Lassie, like on her own, wandering dog, and it's in color. A little different from the one with I can't remember the kid's name, but the one that's always Timmy. Yeah, the one's always falling in a well, and yeah, her grandpa's in the barn or something. And so yeah. Does anybody have any other questions?
Well, again, I'll think of them all when the program's over, but no, this was another really good show. I really enjoyed this.
Better hurry up.
What is the estimate amount of traffic that they envision on the Ridgeway here? Per day or per week, whatever it is.
You mean that the traffic count today or back then?
Once you get it fixed, once you get it done, what do they have a projected amount of traffic? I mean, amount of cars are going on that?
Well, I'm not sure the current numbers. I think it's somewhere north of 200,000 cars per day, or vehicles per day. But the one thing that has remained a constant going back to original Ridge Route is more than 20% of that traffic is trucks.
Mm-hmm.
It is the backbone of California. And the recent Ridge fire, which did damage a section of it, has proved how valuable that road is, because it's down to now it's 3 lanes uphill, was 2 lanes, and traffic would back up. You get a 90-minute wait. That's what Caltrans was estimating. Now it's less, but it's that truck traffic that really makes it, it really affects traffic. So I know the number is somewhere around 200,000 or so. I could look it up. Caltrans does have that information. The numbers would be called the AADT, average annual daily traffic. So they take traffic counts and then they extrapolate that over longer times.
I think Bill meant if you get this, your idea of this road doable, how many cars do you think would be able to use it?
Are you talking about the old Ridge Route?
Well, aren't you redoing the Ridge Route? Aren't you renewing parts of it
Well, yeah.
to
Well,
use?
in regards to the Ridge Route itself, that's a little different.
To use, though, not to use, huh?
But basically, the road is being rehabilitated in places. A lot of it's being just left as is. And the idea is definitely not to have 100,000 going over it. The traffic would be, I don't know there'd be any specific limitations beyond length and weight. Because vehicles over a certain length will get stuck. Vehicles over a certain length also weigh a lot and will damage the road. But beyond that, that's something that's still not 100% as to what sort of limitations may exist on the road when the old Ridge Route is fully reopened. Still working on that with the Forest Service. But personally, I'd like to see people be able to go over it, but within reason, because we don't want to damage the road.
Thank you.
So do we have any other additional questions?
I think we're good from my end.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, thank you everybody for attending. And we'll put out a notice for when our next meeting will be. Looking to have one in November. And not sure what sort of presentation we'll have just yet. Looking at a few different ideas. So if you have any suggestions of things that you want to learn more about, let us know. And once again, thank you for everybody for coming and all your questions. And I look forward to seeing you again.
Well, once again, the thanks goes to you. Another excellent program. I always enjoy these, but this one in particular was great.
Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
And good. And yeah.
And good night from Northern California.
And good night. Good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, we'll see you next time around. Thanks again, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for the good job. We enjoyed it. It's the first time we've been able to see one of your presentations and look forward to more.
There
So
will be more.
good job.